guys, this is Shruti Yenkar welcoming you all to the YouTube channel of Digital Cell of RSCOE. In the next episode of Alumni Talk MS series, we have with us a very courteous and ambitious personality. So with no further delay, let's welcome Mr. Ashish Joshi. He completed his graduation in civil engineering from JSPM's Rajarshi Shahu College of Engineering, Tathode. Apart from being an alumnus, he was also closely associated with many clubs and societies at RSCOE, such as being a part of FISA, Innovation, and also the founder of Shashwat, and many others. He then completed his master's in civil engineering with specialization in transportation and engineering from Ohio. Further, he completed a post-graduation certification in data science from IIIT Bangalore, and currently he is a doctoral student pursuing Ph.D. in transportation and highway engineering from the University of New Mexico. Surely the introduction took a lot of time, but it clearly indicates his vast experience and knowledge, and it's such a great pleasure having you here, sir. This introduction is from my side. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this?
Thank you for such a good introduction, Shruti, and thank you to the RSCOE cell for having me here today. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Surely this video will be a great help to prospective and current college students who wish to opt for MS, especially abroad. And also it will be great help for students who wish to pursue higher education. Okay, so let's start. Surely your education qualification do highlight your interest in civil engineering, particularly transportation engineering. But at the same time of admissions, how did you decide choosing civil engineering?
Uh, I have to go back a little to my school days, especially because I never wanted to pursue engineering. I wanted to go towards veterinary sciences, and so I took PCMB and everything, and I did give the mathematical exam, like PCMB group for CET, just as a backup option. What if I don't get into a veterinary science program? I couldn't give the entrance to the veterinary test because I was severely ill on the day of the test. And so my backup option has always been civil engineering for some reason, because I always liked how different civilizations, when we were being taught about different civilizations in a history class. So I was always amazed by it. So I decided to go for civil engineering. I never really did think of it as a, primary career option. But when it came to it, I just took the decision. I didn't think about, oh, should I go for computer sciences, mechanical, anything? Nothing. Just civil engineering was there, always there. If veterinary sciences didn't work out, eventually this worked out. So yeah.
Okay. So now talking about your academics, how good you were in your academics? Were you bright student or average student?
I don't really know, because so my only target of getting scores was distinction, anything above 66%. I never really put a target on I need to have 80% or 75%. I don't know if it is good or bad, but it worked out for me, because since I have that, nobody pressured from me, put any pressure on me not to get 75% from, my mom didn't say that, my dad definitely didn't put any pressure. The only condition was that I need to maintain distinction, because that is a little respectable thing. I don't know if I was a bright student. I like to think I am. But I certainly don't judge myself on my academics, because there's other people who do that, like my mentors, teachers, who kind of keep pushing me. In fact, even after doing all of this, when I was in my fourth year, I had a mentor. She's a great teacher and a great mentor to me. I was doing all these co-curricular activities, and I was kind of complaining like how much submissions we have to do like every semester. So she just said, and I quote in Hindi if it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
okay. So she said, तुम कितना रोते रहते हो, सिर्फ काम है, होमवर्क है, कंप्लेंट करते हो. अगर आईआईटी में लोग तो इससे भी ज्यादा करते हैं, रात रात भर पढ़ते हैं, मूवीज भी देखते हैं. आईआईटीज में अगर ये होता है तो तुम लोग क्यों इतना कंप्लेंट कर रहे हो? एंड दैट काइंड ऑफ चेंज माय पर्सपेक्टिव. It's not where you are at the moment. It's not that I'm in RSCOE that I'm bad. It's not that I'm not in IIT that I'm bad. But you need to have that attitude towards life. Wherever you are, you need to have that attitude. I can do this. And then that changed my life altogether. So, and after a couple of years when I was in my MS and doing all of the other stuff, She literally had to tell me to slow down and go for a weekend, enjoy yourself, and send me pictures to prove that you're enjoying yourself. So that's kind of what helped me. So like I said, I don't know if I'm a bright student. I like to think I am, but if I spend time thinking that I'm a bright student, then I would miss out on all the I have that pressure. I'm a bright student, people think I'm a bright student, what should I do, what should I not do? So just be yourself. If I have to tell the younger generation, try to improve yourself every day, and that's, I think, the best. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, how did you develop your skills, both technical and non-technical, during graduation? And for undergraduate student watching this video, is there any piece of advice that you would like to give regarding the same?
Yes, definitely. So let's talk about the non-technical part, because it is really the most important part. Technical skills you will get to know when you complete your engineering and when you start practicing those technical details, technical skills in your real life. But non-technical skills, nobody is going to teach you. You can be taught engineering, you can be taught physics, mathematics, but non-technical skills you have to learn from yourself. You have to look at other people, you have to get inspired, draw inspiration from them, and then learn from them. So like I said, non-technical skills can include anything, good communication, risk taking skills, attitude towards life. You have to be the judge of that, what you want to learn, and you have to consciously learn this. Like I said, in my first year I did the tiger census. Nobody told me go do tiger census. It was because I wanted to do it. Just because I was in engineering, that was kind of a point where my ego was hurt that I couldn't do veterinary sciences. I need to do this. And then when I started doing extracurricular, again, I thought I shouldn't falter on my academics, because then people will say, बाकी सब कर रहा है, पढ़ाई क्यों नहीं कर रहा? So you have to have that attitude towards life. Everything you have to look at from a personal and professional point of view. Professionally, my academics was my professional life. Personal life was my extracurricular activities. Those should not disturb each other. Try to maintain that 50-50 balance. That is what I would tell my younger generation, that try to maintain that balance. Even if something's happening in your personal life, try to put a wall around it and protect your professional life. If something bad is happening in your professional life, try to put a wall and protect your personal life. That's very important. And keep going ahead. Small things matter. If you think you're bad at communicating, see what a good communicator is, who inspires you, try to learn from them, imbibe that skills consciously. Try reading good books. There are so many good books on, especially I advise this book to everyone. It's called Think and Grow Rich. Especially engineers should read this book. It is a leadership book, it is a management book, it is almost everything. Read that book. It's really important that you consciously develop whatever skill you think you don't have, you work on it. For non-technical skills, it can be anything. Proper dressing sense, I mean, there's a reason why RSC has uniforms, and students detest having a uniform. But for once, I mean, color choices can be questionable, that's okay, but there is a reason why you need to be dressed well. You get that confidence
Yeah,
of talking to people. uh,
exactly.
yeah, so these are the little things. And for technical skills, you have to obviously study, you have to write those exams, you have to have that technical outlook towards everything. So like I keep saying to my students here also, uh, if you are an engineer, doesn't mean if I'm a civil engineer, doesn't mean I can only talk engineering about civil engineering things. I can only look at a pillar and say, oh, this is good or this is bad. Simple things. Engineering is an attitude towards a problem solve. Any problem, you have to solve a problem, you have to have that engineer's attitude. For example, vaccination rate, comparisons of vaccination rates of different countries. How
Mhm.
would you compare? Whether is it percentages? Someone vaccinated 10 lakh people, somebody said they vaccinated 80% of the population. So how to compare, how to say, oh, this is really good. So these technical skills you will get to develop by experience, by talking to people, your teachers, just reading different stuff. I remember my mentor had us read papers from electronics engineering department, just because she wanted us to develop that wide angle perspective of looking at things. We were civil engineers. For our BE project,
Yeah.
she wanted us to read papers, technical papers for the literature review from electronics or computer science or IT, just because you have that perspective of looking at different engineering fields, but then give your own perspective and make your own opinion about it, of how this could be improved. And it is really possible. I mean, If you think I'm a civil engineer, I can do only civil engineering stuff, I'm a mechanical engineer, I can look at only engines, then no, that's not how you do it. You have to be kind of have that open mind to look at everything from a problem solving attitude.
Now, coming to the final year, was it always planned for you to get into masters, particularly from abroad?
Not really. This is the one thing that I didn't really plan too much in advance. Usually, I like to plan things in advance. Even engineering in A standard, I had decided if not veterinary sciences, civil engineering, just because I love Harappa civilization or Mohenjo-daro or something like that. But in engineering, I got so busy with other stuff like academics and curricular and co-curricular, because every single PL I had one or the other subject that I was almost going to fail. So I had to work really hard to get to the distinction benchmark. I didn't really give time to think about, what after civil engineering, because that was not my career choice. So in my seventh semester, I think I had a talk with my dad and my brother and my mom, and we thought, yes, maybe we could go for MS because they're really good programs. And by then in my fourth year, I'd started liking transportation engineering. Till then, I thought maybe like everyone would think he's talking so much about environment, so much about environment and sustainable development. He would go for environmental engineering. But things that turn out my ways, I really am inspired by teachers who teach me. Unfortunately, we didn't have really good teachers, or I wasn't very good at, because in environmental sciences you do have to do a lot of fluid mechanics calculations, flow, discharge, size of sewers and sanitation and everything. And I didn't really like
Okay.
it. Fluids was not my strongest subject. And then I really started loving transportation because I always used public transportation till my fourth year. uh, Fourth year was when I started driving a scooter, like two-wheeler. Till then I always used buses. So I always had that, there's a problem here. And then my B project was transportation engineering project, and so slowly I started developing interest in that area. And then I decided transportation is actually the one area where you can tackle the problem of unsustainable growth or unsustainable development if you do it right, if the planning is right. And so I started looking at programs abroad, like how people are doing it, and I then slowly kind of put together, okay, then we have to give GRE and everything, and then those things fell into place.
Okay. So, you completed your master's in civil engineering, particularly in transportation engineering from Ohio.
Yeah.
Could you throw some light on this, and what were the takeaways from this course?
So Ohio State University is kind of one of the top ranked universities in the US, and I didn't exactly know that. When I got into it, people started telling me it's really good, and like, okay. So because I had professors from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and University of California, Berkeley. These were the only two universities where professors were from, most of them. So going into Ohio State University, I was really excited. Like first week, I was excited, but then I soon realized that there are a lot of standards that I have to live up to, because the professors are really good. They are from a very, rank number 2 or 3 universities in the US. And their expectations and their teaching style and the knowledge that they have is simply unparalleled, the way they do things. It's not the absolute knowledge of the subject, but just like I said, the attitude and approach towards solving the problem. That is what I learned most in my 2 years, because the first year I spent really scared. I was really scared with talking to these people, you know, because I was thinking, what would they think of me? But then, after 2 years, I kind of started getting a little confident in my skin, talking to people. After you spend some time, you start getting to know, because the first year is really a huge culture shock. There's so much, so much of things have changed from India coming to the US, and you have to adjust really quickly, start the new journey here. You have to apply for internships, and everything kind of snowballs. So my takeaway is managing stress. I learned it there. uh, Another takeaway, like I said, is to the approach, to look at problems from different areas. You have civil engineers working in industrial systems engineering in Ohio State. Industrial systems engineering work with artificial intelligence, and this kind of interdisciplinary approach, that my professor's basic qualification was a mechanical engineer or something like that. So, and he taught civil engineering subjects. So that kind of inspired me. And then in my second year, I started doing a lot of other stuff. So I took a course which was a 6 credit hour course. So the way things work here, if it's a 6 credit hour course, you spend at least 6 hours studying about that subject per week in class. So I had 3 hours on, I think it was Tuesday, and 3 hours on Thursday, continuous classes of that subject. At the same time, I was working part time as an intern. And at the same time, I was also teaching students as a TA, part time TA. So I had two jobs and my studies to do in my second year. And I did it absolutely well because I had a 4 point GP out of 4 in my second year, just because I had so many different stuff to do. So I figured that if I have a lot to do, I do better than if I have just studies to work on. And then uh, for that course, it was called a studio course. We went to Los Angeles for a week. We studied the transportation system, and it was all with American kids, American students, and that kind of opened me to. Till then, I was really not very good friends with American students, just because we have so many Indians. You tend to get attracted towards Indians in the US because it's a comfort level. But now I am equally comfortable with being friends with anyone. So that is another takeaway, being more comfortable, being more open, and forthcoming with people. In terms of technical takeaways, I've already said my approach towards life changed that, engineering problems. And yeah, these are the things that I learned a lot in my during my time at Ohio State University. It was really the best time, I'd say. Stressful,
Yeah,
but
great.
best. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, talking about Ohio, USA, in terms of study culture or work culture or a culture on a whole, as well as the people there, what are your thoughts regarding this?
So I'll talk about, like, in the entire US, the study culture is kind of more or less the same. Uh, Speaking from a very technical point of view, it's really continuous. You're assessed on your performance continuously throughout the semester. So it's not like there is a final exam at the end and that's the only thing that matters. Yes, there are final exams, but here the professor has a lot of freedom on how to teach a class because they themselves are a university. So the professor decides how to set the exams. So now if he wants to have 3 exams in a semester, one after every 3 weeks or after every 4 weeks or something like that. And this is a more practically oriented uh, culture where students are encouraged to kind of apply whatever they learn in their class to the outside world in that same semester. You know,
Okay.
uh, it's a very project based learning, uh, and not just for the sake of project based. The people actually go out, talk to stakeholders, get partnerships with them, and start working with them. That is one study culture that is really good here. What I like about India in comparison is that we focus really good on theory and getting our basics right. So that kind of gives us that mental capacity, increases our mental capacity of taking in things. But what we lack in India is to apply those things out in the real world situations, which the US does kind of well.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of talking about people, at one point it becomes kind of similar to in India. I used to say, for me, Columbus is like Pune, or even now I say Albuquerque, New Mexico here is like Pune, because that's how I am. I think everyone kind of, there's always this 80-20 rule. 80% are going to be the same and 20% are going to be the same. So yeah, it's not very different from India. There are certain ways people do things differently here, but in the end everyone is a human being, so emotionally at some point everyone is kind of the same. That's what I think. So yeah.
Okay. What were the application process or eligibility criteria for getting admission there?
So the eligibility criteria really depends on university to university, and it keeps changing. Like for COVID, they stopped asking for GRE scores, but I think that will change again now. But yeah, the basic thing is you need to get some entrance test. It can be GRE, it can be TOEFL, it can be IELTS, it can be Duolingo. So there's this entrance test part of it, which you need to do depending on where you're applying. Second is your profile, which is very important. It is kind of universal in all universities. People are going to look at your profile. Your statement of purpose, your resume, and your recommendation letters are part of your profile. So how good your profile is a matter of selection. And and when it comes to scores, academic scores and percentages, I personally think those are not a big part in your selection at the university. Some universities might be very score oriented, but most of them are not. They look at how good you have been, how many projects you've done, how is your writing skill, those things. Like I said, I was not really 75, 78% student, but still I got into most universities. I still know many students who were 75% GRE 328 and something like that, and still couldn't get into good universities. So it's really how you put yourself across. Your profile is really important. If you have nothing else, then score is important. But if you have a decent amount of co-curricular activities, extracurricular, and uh, social activities and stuff like that, then you can take a little liberty with how scores you want to present. But if you don't have anything else, make sure your scores, at least your scores, are important. Yes.
Okay.
In some
After
cases,
that, you
sorry. In some cases, interviews might be involved. Yeah.
okay.
But that again depends on university. So
Okay, okay. Now coming to the current PhD in transportation and highway engineering that you're pursuing from New Mexico. Could you give some insights about this course and its takeaways?
so I just started this course last semester, which is fall of 2021. For anyone who's planning to pursue PhD, don't think of PhD as a course, because by the time you do PhD, you start doing your PhD, you already have your master's. So all the coursework is already done. You have to do your research now. And so that is what it really is. You take courses just because you have to be enrolled as per the immigration laws and everything. But I mean, I cannot, at this point, it is really early for me to give you any takeaways. But one thing is, it is a good journey. You if you really are into research and academia and you really want to pursue research, PhD is a good journey where you kind of meet people who are other PhD students. And then I have friends from hydrology department, literature, philosophy, who are pursuing PhD, so we kind of discuss each other's subjects. It's a good way to get to know people. And kind of, like I said, it's a journey. So at this point, there are no takeaways from my side. But probably after 5 years, when I hopefully have a PhD degree, I may have be in a better position to respond to this question.
Okay. Lastly, is there any piece of advice that you would like to give to the budding engineers and viewers?
Yes. I mean, there are a lot of things, but one thing I would say is, don't just stay in classroom and focus on getting, scores or grades. Make sure you have a respectable score, but other than that, keep pursuing your interests. It can be a hobby, music, it can be anything. But always make sure there is a balance between extracurricular, co-curricular, and your curricular. So extracurricular is your something that is not related to your curricular, like dancing, singing, etc. Co-curricular is which is related to your academia, like internship, writing a technical paper. And curricular is, of course, writing the exams for your classes. Keep a very good balance, and you won't get it in the first try. Just because you tried doing something, you tried to write a technical paper and you couldn't focus on your studies and you kind of failed a subject, that doesn't mean you have to give up. Next time, make sure you are a little more prepared for that pressure. Failing a subject is not that important. What is important is you have to try doing a lot of stuff and learn as much as you can. If you're just focused on subjects and classes, you're not going to learn uh, from experience. They say you have to learn from experience. Experience is the best teacher, but you have to get that experience to get that teaching and learning. If you don't get any experience, you're not going to get any. Even if you're 50 years old, and if you're not getting any experiences out of your normal everyday life, then you won't learn anything. So get as much experience as you can in whatever field you want, you know in life. Basically get experience in life. And I know how RSCOE works also. It's very straightforward, very channelized when it comes to academia, teaching and learning. But go out of it. Try to learn outside of school, not just whatever you are in college. And please don't bunk lectures. I might sound like a teacher or to you, but it's really not worth it. because you're going to bunk lectures and then say college ne kuch sikhaya nahi yaar, college mein kuch hai hi nahi. I hear that a lot too. But attend lectures, that because this is the time where you can utilize for yourself. You can think, if you're getting bored in lecture, you don't feel like taking notes, make a life plan for yourself. What are you going to do? Okay, this lecture is, otherwise you won't sit down and think, okay, at Monday 5 p.m. I'm going to think about my life. It is, I cannot tell you, like I used to carry a small diary with me. So whenever I got bored in a class, I used to hide that in my notebook and make notes for myself. Okay, this is what I want to accomplish, this is what I want to do. And every single thing that I spoke about, be it my tiger senses, be it my working in a zoo, be it my fellowship in my second year, those were all part of my diary. They were written way before I actually applied for them and got it done. So that is
Okay.
important for you to visualize what you want to do. If you're bored in a lecture, still make notes. This is also very important life skill. You cannot get out of a boring work meeting when you start your professional life. So
Yeah.
patience is also an important skill that you learn by just attending lectures. Not every teacher is perfect, not every teacher is able to grasp the students attention, keep them busy. But ask yourself, are you a perfect student for that? If not, then you don't have any right to tell the teacher you're not perfect, because you don't deserve that. You need to be perfect, and you cannot be perfect at any point. It is your approach that is perfect. The result is never perfect. Your attitude has to be perfect. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ashish sir. It was a great session and pleasure talking to you, and all the very best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much.
Thank
Give
you.
my regards to everyone at RSCOE. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.